During my first visit to Munich in August 2024 as a tourist, I took the opportunity to see for myself what the bike infrastructure was really like. From the perspective of a first-time visitor who had only cycled in Italian cities until then, I wondered, can we actually say that Munich is the bicycle capital of Germany? You're watching Shared Spaces. When I visited, I wasn't really well informed about its modal share, and I didn't realize that biking was such a big thing. Probably because I associated Bavaria and Germany in general with a strong car culture. I wasn't completely wrong, since cities like Münster and Freiburg have cycling modal shares of 44% and 38% respectively. However, Munich's data is quite impressive. The latest report from München Radelt in 2023 shows that the current modal share for bikes in the city is estimated to be around 20% and is expected to reach 25% by 2025. And that's why the city in 2010 declared itself the leader of biking among large German cities. Additionally, 83% of households own at least one bike. And 53% of Munich residents use their bicycles daily or several times a week. This means that bicycles now slightly outpace cars in regular usage. 25 million euros are available annually in Munich for cycling and pedestrian traffic. Let's not forget the car usage is at 24%. Another positive indicator showing that driving is not the primary means of transport, which is something that Italian cities can only dream of. Of course, I hopped on a bike. The good things I saw were an extensive network of bike infrastructure, many bicycle streets where bikes have priority, and many people cycling. I was particularly impressed by the scene where a large number of bikers were heading back to the city from the Coldplay concert at the Olympiapark Stadium on Dachauer Straße, which is very close to it. I also saw a very good approach to soft infrastructure. Essentially, all residential streets were either 30 km per hour zones or allowed bikes to go both ways. A pretty standard approach across Europe when you care about cycling. Also, there were many U-shaped bike racks available all around, alongside parking spaces for cargo bikes. It's not always guaranteed the cyclist I consider it when there is roadworks, as in many cities you end up navigating alongside cars at your own risk. But in Munich I noticed a high level of consideration for cyclists. However, I also encountered some issues that I think need improvement, such as old bike paths placed on the sidewalk in conflict with pedestrians and unnecessary narrow bike paths when there was space that could have been used to avoid these situations. While most bike lanes are protected, they also rely a lot on painted infrastructure, as is common in many other German and Austrian cities. I'm not sure how citizens feel about this, but I guess it works more or less in a city like Munich. I'm not particularly a fan of relying on paint at intersections. I tried to use the bike to get to the places I wanted to visit, so it was really spontaneous. I rented a bike through Call a Bike from Deutsche Bahn, where you can easily rent up to 4 bikes. Simply scan the QR code, pause the bike if needed, and park when you're done. It's a semi-free flow system. You have to park around specific locations. I joined the 9.9 euros per month plan, which offers a limited 60-minute trips. All the directions are marked with signage that has a green text on a white background. My first trip was from Dachauer Straße, near the hotel, to the city center at Hakenstraße. Using Google Maps was quite difficult. The issue was the inconsistent infrastructure, which isn't always distinguishable. This made the ride longer and less direct than it could have been. I want to talk about this at Königsplatz. If you had to turn left, I couldn't do it. I assumed that the red light was only for pedestrians. so I had to go around the whole circle at the intersection, which seemed absurd to me. Being used to bidirectional infrastructure in Italy, which is, by the way, the cheaper way of doing things, I would have gone left directly. Why can cars go, but I can't? Later on, I started appreciating the logic of the bike lanes. You simply cycle in the same direction as the traffic. But anyway, in the same intersection, I had to turn right, and it wasn't really clear that was the bike path.
Turn left, then turn left.
Turning left here was also confusing. Should I go inside the park? There was no ramp to get on it. Another issue was when I had to turn right here, but the bike lane was in the center with a straight arrow. Does that mean I had to use the right lane even if it didn't have a bike marking? Then I found a really wide path, and that's when I started appreciating the logic following traffic direction. I knew that to turn left, I needed to cross to the other side instead of using the lane closer to me. Still, there's a lot of paint used for bike infrastructure. What if it washes away? Are you seeing this? Not all cyclists run red lights. And the ride ended here. The next attempt was from Museum Brandhorst towards Hofgarten and then Englischer Garten, which was more of a recreational ride. By the way, I will upload the entire rides on the channel if you're interested. You can see how much consideration was given to bikes during roadworks. This stretch was really amazing. You can tell that they generally try to balance space between all road users here. Hofgarten was amazing, and the connection to the Englischer Garten with a wide underpass was impressive. I was truly mesmerized by the size of the Englischer Garten. People really enjoy the outdoors and nature here. You probably need an entire day to see it all. For the final sunset ride back to the hotel, I had the opportunity to pass through some nice residential areas with shared spaces. Then I followed the entire north-south stretch back to the city along Leopoldstrasse with completely separated bike paths. Looking at this, it's hard to imagine why anyone would prefer to get around the city by car when you can walk or bike like this and enjoy the fresh air and the architecture. It's worth remembering that this was only possible because the city prioritized people over cars. Then I passed through a pedestrianized area and ended up on a street that is one of the 90 bicycle streets. Things didn't go smoothly even on this ride, but I blame myself and Google Maps for that. I think Munich is clearly working hard on improving its infrastructure. I read that every day you see a new bike lane pop up and a car lane be removed or narrowed. I'm sure the issues I've encountered were mainly because I wasn't used to the type of infrastructure, and that makes me wonder, why can we drive easily everywhere in the world, but with cycling we have to learn how the infrastructure works depending on the country? That's kind of weird, don't you think? Another consequence of motor normativity? Finally, I absolutely never felt unsafe in the city, even when I made mistakes. Drivers were never aggressive, and that's a really good thing. If you enjoyed this kind of video, please share your thoughts about Munich and consider subscribing to help me take you on more urban rides. Personally, I can't wait to go back to see how things are progressing. Thanks for watching.